when the forest stops being silent. At first, the forest feels calm. The sun goes down slowly. The light thins, stretching between the trees like fading breath. Birds quiet down one by one. The wind softens. You think this is peace. You think night is just darkness. You are wrong. Because the forest does not fall asleep. It changes shift. When night comes, the rules reverse. Vision becomes useless. Sound becomes dominant. Smell becomes everything. And suddenly, without any warning, you are no longer an observer. You are a presence. And in the wild, every presence is evaluated. Somewhere far away, a twig snaps. Too heavy to be wind. Too deliberate to be coincidence. You freeze. Your heart beats louder than your thoughts. The forest answers with silence. Not the calm silence of rest, but the tight silence of attention. This is the moment when humans make their first fatal mistake. They assume animals are afraid of them. They are not. They are curious. They are cautious. They are calculating. Predators do not attack out of rage or hunger alone. They attack opportunity, weakness, isolation, poor awareness. And at night, humans unknowingly broadcast all of that. Your breathing changes. Your posture changes. Your movements become uneven. And to the forest, that is a signal. You don't hear the animal that is watching you. You feel it. A pressure in the chest. A sense that space has narrowed. That something has shifted behind your back even though nothing moved. This sensation is ancient. Older than language. Older than cities. It is the same instinct that kept your ancestors alive when fire was the only border between survival and being eaten. Because at night in the wild you are not the top of the food chain. You are an anomaly. And anomalies are investigated. Coyotes do not howl because they are hungry. They howl to communicate territory. Wolves do not stalk loudly. They move as shadows between shadows. Big cats don't rush. They wait. Bears do not announce themselves. They appear where you least expect them. Even smaller predators, foxes, raccoons, feral dogs, watch first, learning your patterns, your mistakes. The most dangerous thing you can do at night in the wild is act like you are alone. Because you never are. Most people imagine attacks as sudden explosions, teeth, claws, chaos. But that is the final stage. Long before that, there is observation. Minutes. Sometimes hours. You sit by your campfire, thinking the flames make you safe. You don't notice how your light creates a perfect silhouette of your body against the trees. You don't realize that from the darkness, you are glowing like a target. Predators don't see fire as danger. They see it as information. They see how often you move. They see how you sit. They hear how often you cough. They smell what you cooked hours ago. And they learn. The forest communicates constantly at night, but humans are terrible listeners. We miss the patterns. We ignore the rhythm. We assume silence means safety. In reality, silence often means focus. There is a moment, survivors talk about it later, when the night feels too quiet, when insects stop chirping, when birds don't call, when even the wind seems to hold its breath. That is not calm. That is when something has entered the area. Predators don't want chaos. Chaos attracts competitors. They want control, precision, a clean decision. And that decision is often influenced by one thing: how you behave when you think no one is watching. This is why some people spend nights in the wild and wake up untouched, while others disappear without a trace. Not because one was lucky and the other was not. Because one unknowingly acted like prey, and the other did not. Most fatal encounters at night do not begin with aggression. They begin with misunderstanding. A human walks toward a sound instead of away from it. A person runs when they should stand still. Someone sleeps too far from their fire. Someone wanders away from camp to urinate without light, without awareness, without understanding that they just separated themselves from their only protection. Predators notice separation instantly. In nature, isolation equals vulnerability. A lone figure moving unpredictably in darkness is not intimidating. It is tempting. This is why the night in the wild is not about strength. It is about behavior. You do not survive because you are faster. You survive because you are predictable in the right ways and unreadable in the wrong ones. Your body language matters. Your noise discipline matters. Your camp layout matters. Even where you place your shoes matters. Animals read environments like maps. When something changes, a new smell, an unusual sound, a light source that flickers instead of burning steady, it draws attention. And attention is the beginning of evaluation. In the dark, your mind becomes your greatest enemy. Fear fills gaps where sight fails. Your imagination creates threats everywhere. Panic makes you move too much. Movement makes you visible. Visibility makes you interesting. This is the spiral that turns a quiet night into a disaster. But here is the truth few people understand. Most predators do not want to fight you. They want to understand you. And if they cannot understand you, if your behavior does not match the pattern of prey, they often disengage. This is the secret difference between those who survive the night and those who don't. The forest does not reward bravery. It rewards control. And once you understand how animals think in the dark, how they listen, how they smell, how they decide, the night stops being a monster. It becomes a negotiation, a silent one, where every move you make is an argument for or against your survival. The most dangerous myth humans carry into the wild is the belief that animals attack randomly. They do not. Every predator is a decision maker. Every movement you make feeds that decision. At night, animals switch from visual confirmation to pattern recognition. They don't need to see you clearly to understand you. They read rhythm, consistency, confidence, hesitation. A predator can tell the difference between a calm presence and a panicking one from dozens of meters away. Your footsteps tell a story. Your breathing tells a story. The way you stop and start tells a story. In nature, prey moves differently than a threat. Prey hesitates. Prey changes direction often. Prey rushes, then freezes. Prey makes unnecessary noise, then goes silent. Humans, when nervous, do all of these things. A coyote does not see you as a human. At night, it sees a silhouette emitting heat, sound, and smell. And then it asks a simple question. Is this worth approaching? Coyotes are especially dangerous not because of strength, but because of intelligence. They are opportunists. They test boundaries. They walk closer, then stop. They move sideways. They observe reactions. If you retreat immediately, they learn something. If you turn your back, they learn something. If you run, they learn everything they need to know. Running flips a switch. In the wild, running is a declaration. I am prey. Your heart rate spikes. Your breathing becomes loud and uneven. Your movement becomes frantic. Even animals that were unsure suddenly gain clarity. This is why many nighttime attacks begin after the human tries to escape. Wolves behave similarly, but with more patience. They rarely rush. They let fear exhaust you. They follow just close enough for you to sense them, not see them. That psychological pressure is intentional. A tired, stressed animal makes mistakes. Mountain lions are worse. They do not test you from the front. They circle. They wait for your attention to drift. The moment you look away, bend down, or crouch, your posture changes, and posture is everything. Standing upright with squared shoulders sends one message. Crouching, bending, tying a shoe sends another. The forest understands body language better than words. At night, predators rely heavily on smell. Humans don't realize how loud their scent is. Sweat, food residue, plastic, soap, deodorant, all of it creates a trail. And unlike footprints, scent does not fade quickly. When you stop moving, animals don't lose you. They narrow in. Another mistake people make is believing that smaller predators are harmless. Coyotes, feral dogs, even foxes, when alone, they seem manageable. But night changes social dynamics. Packs form. Individuals gain confidence when others are nearby. What starts as one pair of eyes can quietly become 4, then 6. And here is the most unsettling truth. You often don't notice the moment when you stop being watched by one animal and start being watched by many. Survivors describe it as a shift in pressure, as if the space around them became heavier, as if the darkness gained depth. That is when the forest has decided you are interesting. But interest does not equal attack. Not yet. Predators still assess risk. Injury is death in the wild. A broken tooth, a twisted limb. Any damage can mean starvation later. This is why many animals back off at the last moment. Your goal at night is not to dominate the forest. Your goal is to convince it that you are not worth the cost. This is where most advice online fails. People are told to make noise or look big without understanding timing. Random noise is meaningless. Erratic movement is dangerous. Confidence is not aggression. Confidence is consistency. Standing tall, slow movements, controlled breathing, these signal awareness. Awareness signals risk. Risk makes predators hesitate. Fire helps, but only if managed correctly. A steady fire creates a boundary. A flickering, dying fire creates curiosity. Sparks popping, wood cracking loudly, those sounds can draw attention. Light is not protection by itself. Light without control is exposure. Your camp layout speaks volumes. Gear scattered randomly suggests chaos. A tight, intentional space suggests control. Animals notice this. Even sleeping position matters. Curling tightly, hiding your face, pulling fabric over your head. These are prey behaviors. Sleeping with awareness, head elevated, clear sightlines. These reduce interest. The forest reads intention, and intention is communicated long before action. Most people who survive nights among predators never realize how close they came to being tested. They wake up thinking nothing happened. In reality, decisions were made around them all night long. Decisions they passed, not because they were lucky, but because they didn't unknowingly invite disaster. There is a specific moment that survivors remember more clearly than the attack itself. It is not when they see the animal. It is not when they hear a growl. It is the moment their body reacts before their mind understands why. A tightening in the chest. A sudden urge to turn around. A feeling that the darkness behind them is no longer empty. This is not imagination. This is pattern recognition buried deep in the human nervous system. Long before language, long before civilization, humans learned to sense when they were being observed. That instinct never disappeared. It was just buried under comfort. At night, in the wild, it wakes up. Most people ignore it. They tell themselves they are tired. They laugh it off. They assume it is fear playing tricks. And in doing so, they miss the most important warning the forest ever gives. Because predators announce themselves indirectly, the forest changes before the animal acts. Insects stop making noise first. Not all at once, just enough to feel wrong. Birds that should be asleep suddenly take flight. Wind patterns shift around something moving against it. Then come the sounds that are almost impossible to place. A soft exhale that is not yours. A footstep that matches your rhythm too closely. A rustle that stops the moment you stop listening. Coyotes are masters of this phase. They test you psychologically before doing anything physical. One will appear briefly at the edge of your light, then vanish. Another may bark from behind you. The goal is not to attack. The goal is to read your reaction. Do you freeze? Do you retreat? Do you turn your back to focus on one direction? Each response narrows their decision. This is where panic becomes lethal. When humans panic, they try to regain control by moving faster. They walk quickly. They pack up camp in a rush. They make mistakes, drop gear, stumble, knock things over. Predators interpret this as escalation. A calm human is unpredictable. A panicked human is readable. Survivors describe how difficult it is to fight instinct in these moments. Every cell in the body wants to flee. The heart pounds so hard it feels audible. Thoughts fracture into fragments. This is why people run, and this is why running ends badly. Running breaks your posture. It turns your back. It collapses your silhouette into something familiar to predators. It tells them you have surrendered initiative. Coyotes will chase not because they are certain they want to attack, but because movement activates pursuit reflex. Wolves will follow at a distance, waiting for exhaustion. Big cats will close the distance silently. Very few people outrun fear. Almost no one outruns a predator. But those who survive do something that feels unnatural. They slow down. They stop unnecessary movement. They turn deliberately, not suddenly. They face the darkness instead of avoiding it. Facing the threat is not about dominance. It is about communication. Eye contact matters. Not staring aggressively, but acknowledging presence. Predators do not like uncertainty, but they respect awareness. An animal that knows it has been noticed loses advantage. Your voice matters too, but not volume. Shouting blindly wastes energy. A controlled, steady voice carries authority. It signals coherence. Animals recognize confidence even if they don't understand language. There are documented cases where hikers spoke calmly to coyotes, repeating low phrases, maintaining eye contact, backing away slowly without breaking posture, and the animals disengaged. Not because the humans scared them, but because the humans did not behave like prey. Another critical factor is space. Predators calculate distance constantly. When you allow them to close that distance uncontested, you become manageable. When you maintain personal space, using light, movement, or obstacles, you remain risky. This is why standing near trees, rocks, or slopes is dangerous. You limit your own escape paths while giving predators concealment. Open ground, even if it feels exposed, gives you visibility and reaction time. Fire, if present, must be used deliberately. Adding wood slowly to maintain a consistent flame is better than letting it surge and fade. A stable fire communicates control. A dying fire invites inspection. Many people make the mistake of huddling closer to fire out of fear. This creates tunnel vision. Survivors keep the fire as a barrier, not a refuge. The forest is not impressed by desperation. It reacts to clarity. Perhaps the most chilling accounts come from people who realized, hours later, that they had been followed for most of the night. Tracks appearing at dawn. Scat near camp. Disturbed foliage just beyond light range. They slept, and something watched. Not because it was waiting to kill them, but because it was deciding. And the decision went in their favor. Not by chance, but because at some point in the night, without knowing it, they behaved correctly. They did not run. They did not collapse inward. They did not surrender control. The forest noticed. Most people who die in the wild never realize which moment sealed their fate. It is rarely the roar, rarely the bite, rarely the charge. It is usually something small, quiet, almost reasonable. A decision that felt logical at the time. One step in the wrong direction. One instinct obeyed instead of questioned. One moment of comfort chosen over awareness. Night magnifies human error. In daylight, mistakes echo. At night, they compound. The first and most common mistake is assuming familiarity equals safety. A person who has camped dozens of times grows careless. They stop scanning. They stop listening. They trust routine. Predators notice patterns faster than humans notice danger. A camp set the same way every night becomes predictable. A person who walks the same path to relieve themselves becomes trackable. A backpack left open becomes an invitation. Animals don't rush. They wait for repetition. The second mistake is noise discipline. Humans talk too much at night. They laugh. They sing. They argue. Sound travels farther after dark, especially in cold air. What feels like harmless noise becomes a beacon. Coyotes, in particular, are drawn to sound anomalies. They don't interpret laughter as joy. They interpret it as weakness. Irregular noise suggests distraction. Distraction suggests opportunity. Then comes the third mistake, separating from the group. Even a few meters can change everything. Survivors often report that the most intense fear hit them the moment they stepped away from others. That invisible line where the forest suddenly feels closer, heavier, more personal. Predators assess numbers constantly. A group is complicated. An individual is simple. This is why lone hikers are disproportionately targeted. The fourth mistake is posture under stress. When fear peaks, humans shrink. Shoulders hunch. Head lowers. Arms pull inward. Knees bend slightly. This posture is universal across prey species. You may not feel like you are acting scared, but your body disagrees. Predators read posture faster than faces. A person who stands upright, shoulders open, movement slow and deliberate, sends a message of uncertainty, not weakness. A person who curls inward sends clarity. The forest prefers clarity. Then there is the mistake that ends many lives without warning: turning your back. Turning away is not neutral. It is a surrender of visual dominance. Predators rely on angles. The moment you lose sight of your surroundings, you lose leverage. Mountain lions wait for this moment. Wolves exploit it. Coyotes test it repeatedly. People turn away to grab gear, adjust clothing, or check their phone. They believe a few seconds don't matter. In the wild, seconds are windows. Another fatal error is chasing reassurance. Humans seek confirmation when afraid. They move toward sound to identify it. They walk toward eyeshine to see what it is. They convince themselves that knowing is better than guessing. Predators exploit curiosity. Moving toward uncertainty closes distance, and distance is safety's currency. Some people make it worse by using bright, erratic light. Flashlights swung wildly disorient the user more than the animal. Predators adapt to sudden light faster than humans do. Controlled illumination is dominance. Chaos is submission. There are also psychological traps. Fatigue distorts judgment. Cold narrows thinking. Hunger lowers impulse control. Fear amplifies all of it. A tired mind seeks shortcuts. This is why some people leave camp at night for unnecessary reasons. They feel compelled to do something to regain control. Movement becomes emotional, not tactical. Predators sense emotional movement. One of the most haunting survivor accounts comes from a man who realized, too late, that he had been followed for nearly an hour. He described hearing steps that matched his pace, stopping when he stopped, moving when he moved. He sped up. So did they. He slowed. They stayed. Only when he turned slowly, raised his light deliberately, and stood. His ground did the pressure ease. He never saw the animals clearly. He only felt them retreat. That retreat was not mercy. It was calculation. They decided he was no longer easy. Others were not so fortunate. Autopsy reports often tell quiet stories. No signs of prolonged struggle. No evidence of defense. Just a sudden end. These are not people who fought and lost. These are people who never realized they were already being hunted. The forest does not announce danger. It offers warnings. And every warning ignored pushes the balance closer to a decision made without you. There is a phase most people never recognize until it has already passed. It is the space between observation and action. Predators do not jump from curiosity to attack. There is a gap, sometimes seconds, sometimes minutes, where the situation is still fluid, where the animal is undecided, where your behavior can still tip the scale. This is the most dangerous phase, because everything feels calm on the surface, while underneath, a decision is forming. Survivors often describe this period as strangely quiet, not peaceful, controlled, like the air itself is waiting. The forest feels closer, tighter, but nothing obvious happens. That is when people relax, and that is when mistakes multiply. The human brain hates uncertainty. It craves resolution. When nothing happens, it assumes safety. Shoulders drop. Attention wanders. Movements loosen. The body signals relief. Predators notice this instantly. Coyotes are especially sensitive to this shift. They test confidence the way a locksmith tests a door, gently at first. A step closer. A pause. Another step. If nothing pushes back, the door opens. Wolves apply pressure differently. They let time do the work. They allow anxiety to erode control. A tired human makes sloppy decisions. Sloppy decisions reduce risk. Big cats are the most unforgiving. They wait until certainty peaks, until posture collapses, until awareness fractures. This is why attacks often seem sudden. They are not sudden. They are finalized. One of the most misunderstood aspects of nighttime survival is the idea of scaring animals away. Fear is not the goal. Respect is. Animals retreat when risk outweighs reward. Your job is not to look terrifying. Your job is to look expensive. Expensive in effort, expensive in injury, expensive in unpredictability. This begins with stillness. Stillness is not passivity, it is control. A still human forces the predator to make the next move. Movement gives information. Stillness with awareness removes it. Your breathing must slow, not shallow, but deep and measured. Fast breathing communicates panic even if your body stays still. Slow breathing stabilizes posture and voice. Your gaze matters. Predators interpret gaze as acknowledgement. You do not stare aggressively, but you do not avoid looking either. Avoidance reads as submission. Your silhouette matters too. Turning sideways reduces perceived size. Squaring shoulders increases it. Raising arms slowly, not suddenly, changes how you are read. Sudden movements reset the evaluation in the predator's favor. Slow movements complicate it. Voice is often misunderstood. Shouting emotionally can escalate curiosity. A calm, low, steady voice, even simple repetition, signals composure. Animals recognize rhythm. Calm rhythm contradicts prey behavior. Some survivors spoke to animals the way one speaks to a misbehaving dog, not pleading, not screaming, but firm and consistent. The animals disengaged, not because they understood the words, because they understood the state. Distance is sacred. Every step closer an animal takes should be answered, not by retreat but by assertion. A step forward, a raised posture, a controlled sound. This creates negotiation. Predators are negotiators. They test, probe, reassess. When you refuse to collapse into fear, they often reconsider. But this window does not stay open forever. Fatigue closes it. Cold closes it. Darkness closes it. The longer you remain in a contested space, the more likely the animal is to commit. Not out of hunger, but because prolonged assessment also carries cost. This is why the best outcome is disengagement, not standoff. Slowly backing toward safer terrain, toward light, toward open ground, toward others. Never rushing, never turning away, never pretending the threat doesn't exist. Some people survive not because they knew what to do, but because they did less than others. They didn't scream. They didn't run. They didn't chase reassurance. They held themselves together long enough for the forest to lose interest. And interest, once gone, rarely returns. Most people imagine danger as something that builds slowly, a warning, a sign, a clear moment to react. Night in the wild rarely offers that luxury. What it offers instead is compression. Time shrinks, space collapses. Decisions that should take minutes are forced into seconds. And under pressure, humans revert not to logic, but to habit. This is where even experienced people die. There are documented cases of seasoned hikers, hunters, and outdoorsmen who survived decades in nature, only to make one small error at night that ended everything. Not because they lacked knowledge, because they underestimated how fast the situation could turn. One common pattern appears again and again. A person notices something feels off. They acknowledge it internally. They decide to finish what they're doing first. Pack one more item. Adjust one more strap. Take one more step. Predators exploit that delay. A mountain lion does not charge the moment it sees you. It waits for distraction, for divided attention, for the moment your focus shifts inward. Coyotes work in layers. One distracts. Another approaches from an angle you don't expect. The human turns to address one threat and exposes their side. Wolves do not rush at all. They let the human walk themselves into exhaustion, poor footing, or panic. The danger is not the animal. The danger is tempo. Night compresses tempo brutally. A man once described stopping to adjust his headlamp because it flickered. That moment, less than 10 seconds, was enough for a predator to close distance unseen. He survived because he felt the pressure in time and turned. Others did not. Another fatal mistake is overconfidence in tools. Knives, spray, firearms. Tools give psychological comfort, but false confidence changes behavior. People take risks they otherwise wouldn't. They allow animals to come closer. They delay disengagement. Most defensive tools require proximity to work. Proximity is exactly what predators want. There are cases where people fumbled weapons due to shaking hands. Spray discharged into the wind. Firearms jammed. Flashlights failed. Tools fail under stress. Behavior does not, if trained. Another recurring pattern is the belief that predators won't come close to humans. This belief kills. Animals that live near human environments, coyotes, feral dogs, mountain lions on urban edges, are habituated. They are not impressed by silhouettes or noise. They test more, aggressively. Night gives them cover. Humans give them opportunity. Some of the most disturbing cases involve people who were never attacked directly. They simply vanished. Tracks leading away from camp. Signs of struggle absent. Gear left behind neatly. These are not chaotic events. They are efficient. Predators prefer efficiency. Another mistake is sleeping too deeply. Exhaustion is dangerous. Deep sleep dulls instinct. Some survivors woke moments before an encounter, not because of sound, but because something in the forest changed. Those who woke too late never had a chance. This is why experienced wilderness travelers sleep lightly at night. They position themselves strategically. They accept discomfort as the cost of survival. Comfort is a liability in the wild. The forest does not attack recklessness. It punishes inattention. Many people think survival is about courage. It is not. It is about restraint. Knowing when not to move. Knowing when not to investigate. Knowing when not to assume safety. And knowing that the night is not hostile. It is indifferent. It does not hate you. It simply responds. When night falls in the wild, the most dangerous decision is often not movement. It is where you stop. Humans instinctively choose places that feel comfortable. Flat ground. Open visibility. Near water, sheltered from wind. In nature, these instincts are often wrong. Predators think differently. A clearing that feels safe to a human is often a hunting corridor. A flat area near water is a natural choke point. Shelter from wind may also mean trapped scent. Many fatal encounters begin hours before the attack. At the moment, someone chooses where to rest. Let's break this down. The water trap. People are taught, stay near water. At night, this advice becomes dangerous. Every predator needs water. Every prey animal visits water at night. If you camp within direct proximity to water, you are not hiding. You are positioning yourself on a highway. Predators patrol these areas quietly and repeatedly. Survivors often describe hearing footsteps, splashes, or breathing near water sources after dark. Those who ignored it rarely tell the story. The correct approach is counterintuitive. Stay away, but within reach. Close enough to access at dawn. Far enough to avoid night traffic. The clearing illusion. Open spaces feel safe because humans rely on sight. Predators rely on angles. A clearing removes obstacles. For you. It also removes cover. For escape. Many predators prefer attacking at the edge of clearings, not inside them. They use darkness beyond the light line. A fire or lamp in a clearing does not protect you. It silhouettes you. To a predator, a human in light is not intimidating. It is visible. Elevation is not optional. Predators attack uphill less frequently. Not because they can't, but because it costs energy. Even a slight rise changes dynamics. Better scent dispersion. Wider auditory range. Fewer surprise angles. People who stop in depressions, valleys, or dry riverbeds often don't realize they've placed themselves below multiple approach routes. Night removes depth perception. You don't see what's above you. Animals do. The fire myth: fire helps, but not the way people think. Fire does not repel predators universally. It creates information. It tells animals where you are, how many of you there are, how active you are. A small, controlled fire behind you, not in front, works better. It illuminates approach zones while keeping you out of direct silhouette. Large fires invite curiosity. Curiosity precedes testing. Testing precedes attack. Movement after dark. The worst gamble. Most night fatalities happen while moving, not while resting. At night, balance degrades. Reaction time slows, terrain lies. Predators know this. They let humans stumble, trip, panic. Once panic starts, movement becomes erratic. Noise increases. Breathing accelerates. That's when animals close distance. Experienced wilderness travelers follow one rule. If you must move at night, move slowly enough to hear yourself breathing. If you can't, stop. Why panic feels inevitable and isn't. Panic doesn't arrive suddenly. It builds quietly. It starts with imagination filling gaps, sounds lacking context, isolation amplifying fear. The forest at night is full of sound, but predators are often the quietest thing in it. Survivors report something chillingly consistent. The attack did not come with noise. It came with pressure. A sense of being watched, a shift in air, a silence that didn't belong. Those who trusted that feeling lived. Those who dismissed it as fear didn't. The single most important rule. You do not need to dominate the night. You need to coexist without provoking attention. That means minimal light, minimal noise, predictable, calm movement, awareness without fixation. Predators test confidence, not bravery. They look for erratic motion, sudden changes, uncertainty. Confidence is quiet. Fear is loud. A pattern. Among survivors. People who survive night encounters often say the same thing afterward. I stopped trying to control the situation and focused on not making it worse. They didn't chase sounds. They didn't investigate shadows. They didn't rush decisions. They stayed mentally ahead of the moment. That mental distance saved them. Predators do not attack randomly. This is one of the most dangerous myths humans carry into the wild. An attack is almost never an impulsive decision. It is the final step of a process, a quiet evaluation that can begin minutes or even hours before you ever sense danger. By the time a predator moves toward you, the decision has often already been made. Predators don't see humans. They see signals. Animals do not categorize you as a person. They read movement patterns, posture, sound rhythm, directional awareness, confidence versus hesitation. To a predator, you are not an identity. You are a data set. And that data is constantly updating. A calm human standing still transmits one message. A human who shifts weight, scans erratically, breathes loudly, and changes direction transmits another. Predators are specialists in reading these differences. The evaluation phase. Most encounters follow the same invisible structure. 1. Detection, scent, sound, or movement. 2. Observation, distance maintained, no contact. 3. Testing, subtle approaches, indirect angles. 4. Decision, disengage or close. And most people only notice stage 4. Survivors notice stage 2. That awareness gap is everything. Why? Stillness is powerful. Stillness disrupts a predator's expectations. Most prey reacts instantly. It flees. It freezes completely. It collapses into erratic movement. Humans who survive often do something different. They become deliberately still but alert. Not rigid, not tense, not panicked. Stillness with awareness tells an animal, I see you. I am not prey. Predators are cautious. Injury is death in the wild. If you look unpredictable but controlled, you are no longer an easy calculation. Eye contact, the most misunderstood tool. Eye contact is neither universally good nor bad. It depends on distant species, your body language, your stillness. Direct, unblinking staring can be a challenge. Avoidant glancing can signal weakness. The balance is acknowledgement without provocation. Slow, deliberate head movement. Eyes tracking, not locking. No sudden gestures. You are communicating without language. Why running triggers the switch. Running confirms three things instantly. You see the predator, you fear it, you believe it can catch you. Predators are wired to respond to fleeing motion. Once you run, the evaluation phase ends. The decision is made for them. This is why experienced wildlife experts repeat a brutal truth. Most people who run do not survive. Micro cues. Humans give without knowing. Even trained individuals leak information under stress. Common unconscious signals include shallow, rapid breathing, foot repositioning, shoulder tightening, sudden scanning movements, hands clenching or lifting. Predators notice patterns, not intentions. You may feel calm. Your body may be telling a different story. This is why control begins internally. The role of sound. Noise doesn't just attract animals, it informs them. Irregular sound patterns signal distress. Rhythmic, controlled sounds signal presence. Low, steady vocalization can stabilize a situation. Silence can work, but only if it is deliberate. Sudden silence after noise can trigger curiosity. Consistency matters more than volume. Why attacks often happen. When you feel almost safe. Many survivors describe the same moment. I thought it was over. That's when posture drops. Attention narrows. Relief replaces awareness. Predators wait for this shift. The moment you disengage mentally is often the moment they move. This is why experienced guides stay alert long after danger seems gone. You are not competing in strength. You are competing in control. Predators are stronger, faster, better equipped, but they avoid uncertainty. Your goal is not dominance. It is to become too costly to test. Confidence without aggression. Awareness without panic. Presence without provocation. These are survival traits, not instincts. They are learned. When a predator begins to move closer, the moment stops being an abstract danger and becomes a physical reality. In that instant, the human body tries to take control. Breathing accelerates, vision narrows, thoughts fragment. This is where the outcome is decided. Not by strength, not by speed, but by who maintains control longer. Most people do not lose to the animal, they lose to their own reaction. A predator's approach rarely looks like a sudden charge. More often, it is slow, almost casual, the distance shrinking step by step. One step, a pause, another step. This is not an attack. It is an assessment. The animal is watching for change. It is testing whether you will break, whether chaos will appear in your movement. That is why the first and most important action is to slow down internally. Even if you are moving, your body must project stillness. Predators instinctively recognize the difference between controlled motion and panic disguised as walking. Retreat can be acceptable, but only if it looks deliberate. Slow movement, angled slightly to the side, never turning your back, never twisting your torso abruptly. Turning your back is a universal signal of vulnerability. Even a brief turn can trigger pursuit. A human who retreats while facing the animal remains part of the encounter, not prey. That distinction matters. Step, pause. Step, pause. Breathing steady, deep, through the nose, with controlled exhalation. You are not breathing for oxygen. You are breathing to prevent your body from collapsing into panic. Most fatal mistakes are not caused by ignorance but by the urge to do something. Shouting suddenly, waving arms, grabbing a stick, bolting into a run. These are attempts to reclaim control that instead destroy it. In the wild, initiative without calculation is perceived as weakness. Predators are not afraid of movement. They are cautious of composed unpredictability. True confidence looks dull, almost unremarkable. It does not shout. It does not rush. It simply exists. Distance is everything. If the animal maintains its pace and you feel the space shrinking too quickly, the goal is not dominance but disruption. Make yourself visually larger without explosive motion. Raise your arms slowly. Open your jacket if you are wearing one. Change your outline, not your behavior. Your posture should communicate awareness, not challenge. Direct eye contact can be risky with some species and stabilizing with others. The key is steadiness, not staring. Blink normally. Do not lock your gaze in desperation. Sound should be used sparingly and deliberately. A calm, low, firm voice, not a scream, can register as presence rather than panic. High-pitched noise often mimics distress signals of prey. A measured tone signals control. You are not trying to intimidate. You are asserting existence. The forest at night amplifies every error. Darkness erases distance and distorts sound. Animals rely less on sight and more on movement, rhythm, and scent. Sudden changes in tempo stand out like a flare. This is why walking too fast, tripping, or dropping gear can escalate an encounter without you realizing it. Even silence can be dangerous if it breaks abruptly. Understanding one truth changes everything. Most predators are not hunting you. They are deciding whether you are worth the risk. Injured animals, desperate mothers, or habituated predators behave differently, but the majority operate on calculation. If you appear unpredictable, costly, and controlled, the equation often resolves in your favor. The night does not forgive panic, but it respects discipline. And discipline begins with mastering the moment when fear tells you to run, and 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 fear tells you to run.